really need to change that 1989 porn music. Anyway, friends from work, we're going to talk Superman. I've got Bob Cesca and Freekbass. Let's chat.
Everybody come on, let's get down. Get down.
So, Freak, as you know, Aaron Varol and I are rebranding the show. We want to keep that song. Is that cool?
Of course, yes. Do whatever you want with it.
It
Yeah,
actually,
it's yours.
it's going to work actually really well with the rebranding. So, what's up,
Good.
gentlemen? What's going on?
Hello, Rick.
Hello,
Hello.
Bob.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We were on a good run for years, and I don't remember the last show we did. It's been a hot minute.
I think it was kind of talking about this coming. Was it the first trailer?
Yes, it was the first. Yes, we
It
talked
was the
about this
first
in
trailer.
December.
Is
That's the
that-
last time we
yeah.
convened.
Is that the last time
Yeah.
we were off? And I want to apologize to everybody watching on YouTube. I know I have this bleak, bland background. Long story. I'll have it fixed. I promise.
I've got enough background for both of us, Rick.
I'm kind
There
of
you
I am all over the fucking place geographically
Yeah.
right now, so bear with me. Anyway, so I think that's right. Yeah, we did. We talked about it was the first teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do we do introductions at this point? I feel weird doing it. Freak, what's up? What are you up to these days? Freekbass, other than taking over the world on TikTok?
Yeah, but and pretty much it. I just found out a couple days ago. I just got invited there's a big TikTok event in Los Cobos, Mexico that I'm going to be going to in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So yeah,
Amazing.
it's a big kind of crazy red carpet event thing, which is I've never been. I mean, I've been all over the world, but I've never been to Mexico before, so this will be my first time there, and so I'm excited about that. And a lot of bass stuff getting ready to pop. I'll just make it really brief, but probably some of your viewers at least know Sweetwater Music. It's one of the biggest music stores in the country, if not the biggest, and they have a big once a year big guitar bass day. And I work with a company called Dingwall Basses. They're really cool basses out of Canada, and they're having me come there to be their Dingwall bass guy there in September. So if you're at the guitar bass day at Sweetwater and you're watching this, come up and say hello and talk Superman and superheroes with me, because I'll need it there that day. Yes.
Amazing.
So cool.
And then
Yeah.
people will meet you in person, and that's something I have not even done yet.
It's crazy. I know.
Have you guys met in person? I don't remember.
No, not yet.
No,
Not yet,
no,
not
I
yet.
don't think any of us have met in person, not once. No.
Not yet. We'll have to. I mean,
But that's,
we
you
said-
know, I've known guys for 20, 30 years through the internet who I've never met in person. So
it's wild, isn't it?
yeah,
It really is.
really is.
How's the Bob Cesca show going, my friend?
You know what? I'm really enjoying watching Freekbass's career. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But the show's going as well as can be expected, given the ongoing existential dread of our politics and the ongoing crisis. Yeah, trying to navigate all of that is interesting, and it's actually really therapeutic, because I'm finding that if I can't do the show one day or another, that I feel like, oh my God, I need to get therapy or something, because doing the show really helps me deal with and digest what's happening in politics.
Well,
Of course, yeah.
Since you cover politics for a living, let's use that as a kind of a springboard, if I may. So we're here to talk about the James Gunn Superman film, and Bob, we'll start with you on that note. I just want to hear our thoughts. Let's just let it roll as we always do. Nothing polished. Let's just bullshit and talk about stuff we love. But considering what you do for a living and covering politics, no matter what side of the aisle you are on or what you believe, covering politics every day it's got to just be gut wrenching, man.
It is.
I mean, it just has to be, right? So is more important than ever that we have a film as uplifting and inspiring as James Gunn's Superman? How do you feel about that juxtaposition, if you will?
Yeah, there's so much ugliness in our world right now, and you can kind of boil it down to social media as well. And there's a great commentary in the movie about the current state of social media. With are we doing spoilers in this? Just
Oh
by the
yes,
way.
this
Yeah.
is 100% spoiler. So if you haven't seen it, don't watch right now. Come back around after you see it, but go see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, as illustrated by the monkeys in the in the movie. But there's a whole lot of ugliness. There's almost like a branded awfulness that we face. Certainly, as we digest the news and the commentary around the news, where people have incorporated into their brand just the worst kind of behavior that they, I think, get mainly from, there's a particular leader in this country right now who is not the greatest person in the world, who kind of exemplifies, I guess, showing our worst sides or excusing the worst parts of humanity and making that something somehow favorable to embrace. But this movie is important because it rejects that ugliness and makes being kind and empathetic and earnest its own form of punk rock, as they discuss in the film, especially towards the end. And I think that's an important example to set. There's so many very prevalent examples of people behaving as their worst selves in the real world right now, that we need something that's bright and uplifting and gives, especially younger people, a more positive example, a more positive role model to go by. And Superman's a great character for that, because the longevity of the character, the fact that the character's been around almost 100 years, next decade it'll be 100 years, I guess. He becomes almost like a Christmas tree in a sense, where you can kind of hang your own things on Superman. And one of the things that I think has been a constant with the character is that basic kindness, that ability to put aside his own interests for the interests of the people he cares about. And especially in this most recent movie, it's down to even squirrels that he cares about, squirrels and dogs and non-humans, which is, I think, really a great example of that kind of compassion and empathy. And more of that. We need more of that, not just in cinema, but more of that in our everyday lives. More people taking on that role rather than worsening things. And just going back to social media real quick, what you see a lot of right now is people incorporating shitty behavior as part of their brand, as part of their profit making process, part of their business model. And that only perpetuates things, because if you're unwilling to be your true self, and maybe that's to an extent it's their true selves, the sorts of people I'm talking about, but when you start to monetize things and you start to rely upon that kind of behavior for likes, shares, social media clout, that's when things are just disintegrate, and you see more and more of it, and it kind of starts its own Ouroboros of one thing feeding the next, one awful example feeding the next awful example. I guess this is how you have to be. You even see it in the headlines, and this is a really long answer. I'm sorry. I'll let you guys talk here a second.
No, go.
But you even see it in the way headlines are composed on YouTube, where the videos on YouTube that get the most attention are the ones that have the most controversial or inciting headlines or thumbnails. It's quite obvious. And so I think Superman, especially in this movie, represents the opposite of all of that.
Absolutely. And there's a faction of what we're talking about very specifically that is trying to tear down this movie in real time right now.
Yeah.
And literally 53 minutes ago, and I actually responded to a post about that. But anyway, yes, I think that the biggest thing I wanted in this film, and Freak, I'm going to take it over to you. I know we're jumping all around here. We're not even really talked about the movie, but I think the essence of the character and the movie is as important as the actual film itself, what he stands for, what he represents, everything Bob just said. And what I wanted, and this is not a knock on Snyder, there's things about his films I love. We've talked about all of those a million times, but the hope and the upliftiveness, if that's a word, of Superman is so needed right now, all around the world, not just here. And at the very least, no matter some quibbles I may have with the film, and we'll get to that in a moment, one thing for sure is James Gunn got Superman right. 100% right, and goddamn, we needed him. Freak, what do you think? How did you feel about the movie, and how do you feel about the context of this conversation so far?
Well, I'm gonna before we get into the details about the movie a little bit. I want to kind of semi piggyback off of what Bob was talking about a little bit. So, I went with my wife to see the movie and my daughters, and so my wife is just quick context about her. She's, she loves that I'm a geek superhero person, but she's not at all. She is she's the general audience. Like I'll get super, like I saw Thunderbolts and I don't know if either one of you have seen it, but I love Thunderbolts. And I thought it was just super inventive. The writing was great, the acting was incredible, and I was so excited about it afterwards. And she was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good," And I was like, "What? It was great," So but the weirdest thing happened when we saw Superman. When we got done, I was like, "So, what'd you think?" And she's looked over at me and she's like, "It's one of the top three movies I've seen all time. Not superhero movies, all movies."
Wow.
It really, really, really resonated with her. And I don't think because of the superhero part. I think it was because, I mean, that was obviously part of it, but it was everything that you were talking about, Bob. It was like all those elements. And I think this movie, I sent you guys right before we went on stream, this weekend's box office. So we still, have probably we're gonna have to wait and see what next weekend's numbers are like in terms of like the buzz. That's where we know if the buzz carries over to the next weekend in terms of general audiences. But it feels like she's usually a good predictor of what the general audience is going to think, not just superhero geeks like all of us. And it really, really, again, she's super cynical and not like in a jaded way, but she's just like doesn't get all excited about movies and stuff like I do. And I couldn't believe those words were leaving her. I was like, top three? You mean superhero movies? No, 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 all of all time.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so. Now, which is weird because to be honest with you, when I walked out of there, I didn't know what to even think what I just saw. It was like I felt like I was on a frick. I mean, as you guys know, and we're talking spoilers, but I mean, you're in it like the second that movie starts, it's like boom and off to the races.
Hmm.
I've never thought I'd say I want a movie to be a little bit longer. It felt like I know it was 2 hours and like 9 minutes, but it almost felt like it was like 90 minutes. It felt like it was so fast. Um, with all that said, just quickly, so I won't go down the rabbit hole too much. Thought the movie was great. I thought the acting was incredible. Nicholas Holt was really Nicholas Holt and Mr. Terrific were the standouts for me. I mean, of course, David Cornsweet is
Hmm.
incredible Superman. He's great. Loved Mr. Terrific. Loved that character. Like, which I had no like. I've never read a Mr. Terrific comic in my life. I had no like, expectation for him going in. And I thought Nicholas Holt maybe not to this guy's level, but he was pretty damn close. I think he's going to be kind of in that same conversation, even with him towards the end when he realized he's defeated and he actually cries kind of at the end and just
Hmm.
like I just thought Holt was just incredible. I really, really thought he was just so great. So overall, yes, but I'm kind of jealous of you, Rick, because I saw that you saw it twice and you did that second review of it. I definitely feel like I need to see it again for sure. Yeah.
Yes. So let's get into that if we can. So I saw it last Wednesday at one of the greatest theaters in Houston too. This Regal, it's just amazing. So I was in my happy place on IMAX. I did not hate it. There were so many things I loved about it, but when it was over, I felt. I guess part of my problem was there was some characterizations I wasn't really crazy about. Like I still kind of felt like Ma Kent is a little overdone, and I feel that way still, unfortunately. But that's minor. It's a minor quibble. But so many things that I loved when I saw it the second time, I loved them more. And the 7 or 8 things I disliked went down to like 2 things, right? So it was a pretty big swing for me. But I think the first and foremost, I guess I'm just a purist where this is concerned, and I always will, in my heart of hearts, just prefer a standalone, true like story about Superman, and not all this world building around him. And so it was a little more than I anticipated, and so I was a little disappointed in that. I didn't like Lex at first. I thought it just didn't work for me, and I had to adapt to the tone and everything, I guess. And then I went in with different expectations on the second viewing, And I was about 20 minutes into it, and I just sat there, and go, yeah, I think I pretty much love this movie. You know, it started to just speak to me, and I'm really glad I saw it close together because it was again, this wasn't an F to an A, but it was a C plus to like an A minus. I mean, it was a good swing, and so yeah, man, I tell you, and we're talking spoilers. You know, the closing scene where he decides, you know, at the beginning of the film, the Superman robots play the video of his parents, his Kryptonian parents, and
Mhm.
that soothes him. That makes him, that puts him in his like happy place. And then at the end of the film, it's showing all these great moments of his parents, his Earth
Yeah,
parents,
yeah.
and I fucking choked up. And it didn't even move me the first viewing, and I had like tears in my eyes. It was
Mm.
that was the shift for me, and a lot of it was Paul Kent. I don't know what it was, but the first performance I thought was over the top. No, I was wrong on that. I think I was just jaded maybe a little bit. Man, that scene where he asked Lois and he asked, "Is my boy okay?" And you see the pain in his eyes. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
And that fantastic scene where they talk. Um, that's there's been some great moments with Superman with Clark and his Earth father, Paul Kent. In the original Superman, and to be fair, in B versus S, it's a flashback sequence or a dream sequence, but I still think that's a beautiful scene between Kevin Costner and Henry Cavill. I love that scene. He's shoveling snow. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's fantastic. This is up there. This is that kind of moment. It was fantastic.
And what a big man, what a big like, you know, of course, I kept waiting for the whole movie for them to say, "Oh yeah, Lex altered the tape." They didn't really say for the they didn't really say the Kryptonian parents. They
Sure.
didn't really say for you to do all the nefarious things that they said, and then they you know doubled down on it. You know, and you know, and this is again, my wife told me, she's like, "Look, it's not like the Kryptonian parents." To them, it wasn't like a nefarious thing. They weren't telling him to go kill everybody on Earth. You know, it was more just like this is a matter of survival, and their culture is different than your culture, so like I think they handled that well. But the fact that they, you know, actually, again, you know, the typical movie thing would have taken the easy out and to go, "Oh yeah, Lex altered the tape. They didn't really say for you to go create a harem and take over." Like, no, they actually live with that, and basically, which again makes the Superman all that better because it's purely his choice to be. It's not like his parents on Krypton said you have to be good, you know, which there's a little bit of that in Man of Steel, you know, where you know the Russell Crowe speech about for being for the people. I can't remember all the exact wording, but this was like actually all your choices, which is what Pa Kent was talking about on the porch.
Yeah.
You have to make those choices,
Yeah.
and that even gives more weight to David Cornsweet as that Superman. You know.
100%. I reached out to Chris Clow. I don't know if you guys know him or not. Fantastic guy, great podcaster. He's a Superman encyclopedia. And I asked him, I said, "Is there canon anywhere where the Kents do that?" Because I think I remember something in Smallville, and then he corrected me that I guess it was. It was in Smallville. They played with it, but they said that they didn't set it in stone for the future. Um, and the something about the final scene, whatever. But I was just curious because I thought that was a very interesting choice. And Harper, my 11-year-old, said to me, because I was explaining it all to her, and she said, "Well, but I like this better, Daddy, because it makes his dad's different." And I went,
Yeah.
"Wow, what a fantastic thing from the mouths of babes." You know what I mean? My 11-year-old
Yeah, yeah,
daughter,
yeah.
just right, like it's true. You know, it's weird. You say that now, and you look back on even with Russell Crowe or Marlon Brando, you're going, yeah, they kind of were the same dad in a way. Like you're
Yeah,
here.
one dad is focused on the outside influence. The other
Uh-huh.
dad is focused on the heart, and
Yeah.
that makes all the difference in the world. And in fact, that drives Superman's arc in this movie. One of the
Correct.
many things that I thought, by the way, I loved about this film. And in fact, the scene with Jonathan Kent, that was the time, that was the scene in the movie where I got choked up. Well, it was partly, I'll just confess here that I lost my dad a year ago. And hearing that sort of sincere, I'm proud of you, son kind of moment in this movie just really struck a chord for me. and obviously worked for the purposes of the character arc itself, the transformation of Superman being kind of unsure and then eventually owning his humanity at the end. And that's one of the many things that really, really worked for me in this movie.
Well, Bob, I want to read something to you or to both of you that I saw online that really, I loved it. It was just somebody posted this. And I'm going to read it. And then, Bob, let's get your response to this. I wish I could have hit a replay button to immediately watch it over again. It's an unironically earnest, thoughtful, empathetic Superman with all the things I love about James Gunn's projects. Now, who wrote that?
That sounds really familiar.
That sounds it rhymes.
If it wasn't
with,
me, someone plagiarized me. No.
That's
AI,
really, yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah. Well, I just, as I've said it on this show many, many times, I really, really respond to James Gunn's cinematic voice. Whether it's Marvel or DC or whatever, he's funny without being crowd pleasing or cheap. And there were some trailers that ran before Superman that were crowd pleasing and cheap comedies or IPs or whatever. He uses everything as he's writing. I mean, every aspect of the movie has some value to it or some sort of point. Everything was set up and paid off in this. And he's got this ability to balance immense heart, unflinching violence, and pure like rock and roll fun. And that's the kind of style that I've wanted brought to comic book movies for some time now, especially after seeing The Suicide Squad and that followed up by Peacemaker, which I think The Suicide Squad was the best DCEU movie. And Peacemaker is one of my favorite, one of my top 5 favorite streaming shows of all time. And if you watch that streaming series, it's got all the James Gunn stuff in it, from the heart to the fun. I mean, that opening dance thing with the Wigwam song. Every aspect of that show is great. And in The Suicide Squad, that scene where Harley escapes, and just plows right through all those guards and everything like that, with the animated elements behind it and the flowers shooting out. And to me, that's one of my favorite movie scenes of all time, comic book movie or otherwise. And James Gunn was entirely responsible for that. So I went into this movie already loving James Gunn's point of view and his take on superhero characters and comic book movies. So I went in with a bias for sure, and it really paid off.
Nice.
I remember you, Bob.
Nice.
I remember 2 or 3 years ago when we were discussing when things were in shambles with DC. I remember you back then saying that you thought James Gunn would be the best choice
He
for
did.
DC. Yeah, before anybody had it on their radar. Yeah.
I can co-sign on that. He sure did.
Because I mean, the dark, gritty DCEU universe that was established by Zack Snyder, I thought when James Gunn stepped in for the Suicide Squad, he nailed it in a way that I don't think Zack Snyder could, where he was balancing out the just immense violence, the over-the-top violence about it, which was ironic in and of itself. I think there was an element of satire to it because it was so flagrantly over the top. But for some reason that made it fun, unlike where Zack Snyder, which I still like Zack Snyder's DCEU movies, but James Gunn took that and made it fun, which was, I thought, the best approach for these things. And that to me signified, well, I mean, my God, if he just took over this universe and applied his own take, his own voice to this, it could turn things around. And now here we are.
I tell you, you guys talked about box office earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt, but I think this thing's going to do pretty damn well. We're north of 200 million, right? Worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah.
This is it. I think this will have legs because of the good response. It's good reviews everywhere. When does Fantastic Four come out? Is that next week or week?
No,
25th?
2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay,
so it's got one more weekend. It can do well in.
It can breathe.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough to go around for both to do well. I'm excited to see that too, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Let's the one thing about Mr. Is it Corn Sweat, right? That's how it's pronounced, David Corn Sweat.
I think that's it.
Corn Sweat. He fantastic. What I would like to see more of is Clark, because there was very little Clark. Now, one could argue, get into, if we want to peel back the onion on the character, like there's different versions that There's Kal-El, there's Clark on the, in Smallville, there's Clark Kent in Metropolis as the journalist that's hiding as Superman. Then there's Superman himself. And, he's kind of four different characters in a way. So we saw Clark, obviously, but I want just a little bit more of the Clark Kent and journalist Clark Kent. And I found it interesting. Did you guys catch the reference where apparently he has hypno glasses? Where,
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
I think
And
that's actually really creative.
And that's canon too, evidently. That's in some of the I saw an interview with James Gunn, and he's a comic book fanatic, and he
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, that's not something I came up with. That's actually canon in one of the comics." Yeah, so
That's actually pretty good idea, especially considering how he's so big. He's not unassuming. So you have a
right.
6'5", 6'4" Clark Kent that's 230 pounds. It's not
Yeah, and you know what?
necessarily.
I think for the first time since Christopher Reeve, you really saw the size difference between the rest of the cast and Superman himself. I mean, Superman looks colossal in this
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Brandon Routh is a pretty big dude too. He's probably
Yeah.
your size, Bob, because he was a little taller than me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
but
6'4",
but
that's usually the taller. I mean, I guess with both Batman and Superman, the tendency is to go to a taller, more imposing figure. And but I think that sets these characters apart. And I think for the first time, it's interesting with Corin Sweat because I was watching the old Max Fleischer shorts, the Superman shorts, which if you've never seen them, they are some of the best Superman
Oh,
things ever
genius!
made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
yeah,
But Corin Sweat's look with the costume had a similar shape. I noticed there's a similar shape with that sort of 1940s era animated Max Fleischer Superman. I don't know. Maybe I was seeing things, but I got that distinct sense. There wasn't anything about that costume that necessarily screamed out modern fashion sensibility. Like, remember the Brandon Routh Superman had the trunks, but they were sort of low rider trunks. I think because that was sort of the style of the early 2000s, low rider jeans and things like that. So there were
Right.
elements of modern fashion in there. And I think, Freak, you are really on top of all of that. So I'd love to hear your take on the Superman suit for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was the very first look we got out of it. Which, by the way, remember the first picture they released with him in front of the window with the big thing in the background?
Yes.
What a freaking payoff when we found out what that was really what was going
Yes.
on too.
Yes. Oh
I
my
mean,
God. I want to jump in because
yeah.
what I was noticing is
Uh,
there was that random, what do you call it? A universal imp or something just
Yeah,
happened to
yeah.
appear in the background. And Guy Gardner is hitting it over the head with a big green baseball bat.
Yeah.
And it was getting laughs. That was getting laughs in the theater when I
Yeah.
saw it. And
She's like,
including
"Are you-"
from me.
Well, Lois
Yeah.
is like, "Are you going to do anything?" He's like, "No, they got
No,
it.
no, it's just, yeah.
Well,
Right,
This
right.
is awesome.
But that's funny you brought that up, Freak, because a lot of the complaints in that photo was like, "What's he doing? He seems so nonchalant." And there's this big thing
Exactly.
invading this,
Yeah.
and he had no fucks to give about it.
That's what I mean about
Yeah.
Gunn using every little aspect of it to just throw in some other bit of content in there, which is just, again, a great example of his attention to detail in these movies.
Yeah,
Real quick, I gotta say, and you brought about the hypno glasses, and I wouldn't be a Cincinnatian if I did not bring this up. You guys, I think you guys both know this, but that's filmed about 10 minutes from my house. That's the Union. It's the Cincinnati Museum Center, which is the Hall of Justice,
Yes.
and that's
God,
that's
I love that too.
and
I
that
mean,
looks exact like the way when they're inside and they're that scene. It looks they did not do anything. It looks there's all these people like, what's that painting on the wall? Who is that? What's super? No. That painting lives on the wall down there. Like they did not literally do, and that's exactly what it looks like inside. And even the with Mr. Terrific with the when they show his vehicle with him and Lois ride in. That's one of the garage doors at the Cincinnati
which is another
museum
great
too as
joke.
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
watch that again too, because he takes his time with that joke. James Gunn does.
Oh, it's
That,
great.
that,
Yeah.
that thing is moving slow, and there's no dialogue, and you're watching.
Right.
Going, this is awkward, and then great payoff. She's like, "You
Yeah,
have
and the post-credit scene is another great
Oh,
payoff too.
yeah.
by
Oh,
the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
as a visual thing that he held on just for maybe a couple of beats too long, which is exactly
Again,
what he should have done.
the comedic timing with Mr. Terrific. I
Mhm.
forget the actor's name right now, but even that he's playing the straight guy. I mean, they handled that so well. Like the
Yeah.
garage door, especially. Like not rushing the joke, like worrying, like, oh my gosh, 10 seconds are rolling off our clock here. They're like,
Yeah.
they rolled with it. It was
Yeah,
great.
Mr.
Yeah.
Terrific had one of my big laugh lines in the movie. One of the things I laughed out loud at, which is where he describes Metamorpho as a squiggle man, which is
Oh, right.
hilarious. Yeah,
Well,
know,
and he has one of the best action scenes in the movie too, as
yeah,
well. I mean, that's an incredibly filmed action
oh,
scene when he takes everybody down in the military camp. Yeah,
he's got Lois protected, and
yeah, yeah,
she. Some of my favorite shots of that are her just kind of absorbing
yeah.
the environment.
yeah.
What a fantastic actress she is
It's like
too.
it was like the hallway scene in Guardians 3, and also my favorite Harley Quinn escape scene in the
Right.
Suicide
Very,
Squad.
very, very similar.
Very
Yeah,
much a
yeah.
gun
I
signature.
loved her. I loved her since Netflix. What was Netflix big break hit? The
Marvelous
political
Mrs.
woman, Kevin
Maisel.
Spacey. No. Way
Oh,
before that, Kevin Spacey. Netflix. The one about Washington D.C.
oh yeah, House of Cards.
That's what she started on, and she's
Oh right.
incredible in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh
her first thing I
wow!
saw. Yeah.
So let's talk about Supergirl for a second. That scene, I've seen it twice now. It did not get a laugh either time in a two pack theaters. I, uh, I think at first when I first saw it, she came in drunk. She said, "What's up, bitch?" And I didn't realize it was canon that Clara was. There's a who is it? King. Somebody has a run over the last couple of years that touches upon her trying to suppress her past and her guilt, and so she's
That's
going
Woman of
around.
Tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
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 Woman
I
of
think that's
Tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Woman of Tomorrow. That's exactly right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
is going off to planets with red sun so she can party and drink. So when I found that out, because I didn't know, and then I saw it again, I really liked that scene. It worked.
Yeah.
It's funny. And
But
then
when she
and
calls Superman a bitch, that got a big laugh in the theater.
they
when
did
I
for you
saw
good.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
glad it
yeah.
did because I laugh, but nobody else did.
Well,
But
to me, it's almost like the female version of like a Wolverine. You know what I mean? It's okay when
Oh
Hugh
yeah.
Jackman does it, and he's always at the bar and getting drunk and like F you and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was nice, and the fact we know Momoa is going to be in the next movie, and she's going to have to kind of go toe to toe with him in terms of like that kind of stuff. So it's nice that they've already set that precedent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fun. And so now that I know what Gunn is doing, and again, going back to my original opinion of it, I had to break away and reset expectations that this is a world building film. That's certainly centers around Superman, and so I'm good with it now. I guess I'm at peace with it, so to
Yeah.
speak. But man, I really can't wait to see it again. Actually, and there's so many things that I just didn't. I don't know, it just didn't jump out at me. But gosh, man, there's some great stuff. Now, I'll say some of the stuff with the what is it called, the parallel universe, and
Pocket Universe.
yeah, I don't know, some of that stuff. That's real. That's like intense, crazy James Gunn shit there, and I might could have done without some of that, but whatever, minor stuff. The film overwhelmingly works for me, and it's probably now my third favorite Superman film, actually. Right
Yeah.
behind, right
Yeah.
behind, right behind Superman 2. Yeah.
It's taken over number one for me.
Oh,
And
right. Really?
Over
yeah,
over
yeah.
78.
Well, yeah, and here's my thing
Wow.
with Superman 78. I of course love the performances led by Christopher Reeve. Hands down, some of the greatest comic book performances and portrayals of these characters ever. I mean, Gene Hackman, it's all great. As a story, I don't love it. Superman 78. There are some janky things about it from a visual point of view. So I know I'm probably pissing off everybody as I'm saying this, but I'm just being honest about it. It's really my admiration for that movie is driven mainly by how it established modern comic book movies, and it had just impeccable performances. But I think Superman 2 is a better movie than Superman 78. So as of right now, it's for me number 3 is Superman 2, number 2 Man of Steel, and number 1 is this most recent one, Superman 2025. And,
You know,
yeah.
the stakes are higher in Superman 2. than the first one,
Yes, they are. And when
for
he
sure.
loses his powers and one of the greatest payoffs is when he goes back to that diner after
Right.
regaining his powers. It's just
Kind of
a
an early
wonderful,
post
yeah.
credit. It wasn't
I
it wasn't post credit, but it was kind of like a post credit scene.
there,
Yeah.
there there there
Yeah.
isn't one
Yeah.
scene
Huh.
in the Donner cut, not one. I know it's not really a movie, but I mean just isolated scenes that I like better than what we got on theatrical. Not one. For instance, Lois jumping out of the building
Hmm.
versus at Niagara Falls, right? That's a big difference in those two scenes, and the
Yeah.
Niagara Falls scene works a lot better, and it has aged better because it's her jumping out of that building looks really bad.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
guys
I
are
mean,
like,
there's in Superman 78, there's one of the greatest performances, period, that I've ever seen in my life, which is Christopher Reeve going from Clark Kent, transforming into Superman right before our eyes, and then transforming back into Clark Kent
phenomenal.
just by his posture and how he carries himself. It
Yep.
is just utter genius. And coincidentally enough, David Cornsweet is also a Juilliard graduate, as was Christopher Reeve. So they have that in common, among other
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah. There's one edit that I was bummed out about in the film on that note in the previews when she says interview, he makes a Cronkite reference, which I thought
Yeah.
was funny. Like we know who that is, but I don't. Does anybody under 40 know who that is? But anyway, when she says, Superman, and he leans in and says Miss Lane, and
Yeah.
that moment, it's similar to me to that moment with Chris Reeve. He just transitions. But if you watch the film, that scene is profile, and so it
Mhm.
loses the frontal view of it. I don't know why they
Yeah, I
made it.
noticed
I
that
don't.
too.
Yeah, I was kind of
Yeah.
bummed. And then there's another moment. I guess maybe it just didn't work, but Clark walks in and it gave his Clark Kent, his journalistic Clark Kent, a lot of personality. The guy's like, "What's up, loser?" He's like, "Yo, you're the loser." That's gone. That's not in the film. I
Yeah.
was a little bummed about that too. I just thought that was funny. I wanted to see the context of that, but that's gone.
Quickly, can I say something real quick? And
Yeah,
it's
go, go, go.
the my favorite post credit scene is so I've told you guys this since. So I knew about 8 months ago that my best friend's band was going to be in the movie, and
Oh,
you guys
nice.
know the Mighty Crabjoys. That's actually Foxy Shazam.
Oh
So
my
they
God.
yeah,
Wow.
Nice.
yeah, they recorded it. They recorded here in Cincinnati. It was like literally over. Like he called me up, Frank, but Sky. You guys know Sky. He got big long beard that he's in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tours with me. He's a keyboard player in my band, but he's also a keyboard player on Foxy Shazam. And James Gunn, I guess he had a working kind of song but he wanted something specific. So he called them up. He's like, "Can you guys do this for me really quick?" So of course they were like, "Yeah, yeah, we will." And so they have a different singer. That's that female singer that's on the track. But like when the movie ends, it starts with the Iggy Pop song, the punk rocker song, and then the next song is the Mighty Crabjoy song. And that's actually, I mean, if you know Foxy Shazam's music, it's literally Foxy Shazam with just a different and actually Eric the singer from Foxy Shazam, actually Eric the singer from Foxy Shazam actually has a cameo in Superman too. James Gunn put him in it for a second when they
Wow.
were all sitting on the cart when there was I think it was when the Kaiju came, the monster. But anyway, but at the end, it goes down and they had the special thanks to, and it says Foxy Shazam. And that was it's about a surreal thing, the Cincinnati Museum Center, just because I'm very good. Those guys, I record with those guys and all kinds of stuff. And it was driving me freaking crazy because I wanted to tell you guys. I promised him I wouldn't tell anybody until it came, because like James Gunn, of course, made him promise not to tell anybody. So I've like been sitting on this for like 8 months, like I wanted to tell
Good,
you
good,
guy so bad.
good
Yeah.
for you for keeping a secret though.
And this is one
Yeah,
of
yeah.
my favorite jokes in the movie is the ongoing Mighty Crabjoys thread. And there was a poster on
Yeah,
his
yeah.
wall in his
There
bedroom in
is. Yep.
Smallville, and
Yep.
yeah, yeah. And then when they brought it back as an actual band inside, like an in-universe band, that was just that's the kind of thing I was talking about with James Gunn, where every little detail he turns into something that you can kind of grab onto, whether it's a joke, even a throwaway joke or a reference. There were lots of DC comic references, products on billboards and things like that were in there too. That I really appreciate his attention
Gotham
to
City.
detail like
Did you
that.
guys catch? Did you catch in Gotham City when
Oh
there's
yes, yes,
there's
the
a
road
street sign you
sign.
see
Yeah,
the
yeah.
road sign for Gotham City? Yeah. Okay. Now I have to ask you, and I know I'm living and dying on this hill, and I don't think I've convinced either one of you yet, but I'm gonna stick by this, and we can replay this like a year from now. I still think Pattinson's going to be the Batman DCU, even more now than I did before. And you're going to be like, how can you, after seeing Superman, because that world is so different than obviously the
Yeah.
Matt Reeves world. I get that, but that video I think I sent you guys the other day where Gunn's like, I think he intentionally wants to make all, obviously you know about Clayface, which is going to be super rated R and super
Hmm.
horror movie type thing, which is being executive produced by Matt Reeves, ironically, and that is going to be in the DCU. They have mentioned that. Creature Commandos, which is a lot, I know it's a cartoon but different. Even Supergirl, I've heard, is going to be a lot different tonally than we've got obviously from this movie. And I know it seems bizarro with the penguin and all that kind of stuff. I just really think that I think they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna, I just cannot see them waiting 5, 6, 7 years before they introduce Batman in the
No.
DCU. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, let me say this because I have respectfully disagreed with that
I know, and I get it.
assessment.
Yeah,
No, and it's respectfully. We're just. I mean, neither one of us know anyway.
right, of
But
course.
I will say this: I think it's more likely now than I did, and the reason I do is because of just time. Right, we're at a point right now where it's going to be what 6, 7 years between the two Batman films. And
Right.
so I don't think there's going to be a traditional trilogy here unless he's filming two films back to back, and we don't. There's no indication of that, not yet anyway. I don't think that's going to be the case. Although we'll see. So because of that, maybe what will be very telling is the next film, right?
Yeah.
Watching the Batman, watching Penguin, I can't picture what I just saw in Superman and those two things coexisting.
Of course, yeah, I get
But
it.
there's an opportunity to start to blend those realities a little bit from an aesthetic standpoint, from a tonal standpoint, without going too far. So I wonder if Reeves is doing that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, just jumping in here, I wouldn't be surprised if he did it. I wouldn't be surprised if James Gunn incorporated Robert Pattinson's Batman into this universe. And while I don't know whether he's going to do it, I don't know whether it's a great idea or a bad idea. I can certainly justify it by saying that, first of all, he has already straddled the Peacemaker from the DCEU character, that version of the character, with the new DCU. That's going to, in Peacemaker season 2, they're going to make that transition and explain how Peacemaker and the other characters that surround him end up in the DCU. So
Well,
there is,
he's got
there
his
is,
he's got his cameo,
oh yeah, which I loved, by the
Yeah.
and
way.
and he's been around Henry Cavill Superman, albeit
Right.
a faceless actor. But yeah, to your
So
point,
there
go ahead.
is precedent for that kind of crossover. Additionally, James Gunn has said that not all the movies in the DCU are going to have the same tone. So
Right.
you can have a really dark, gritty DCU movie, which means that I think Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman, could work in that universe. And then when they bring them together, perhaps in a future Justice League movie, that tone will reflect the overall tone of whoever that filmmaker is. So you can have a Robert Pattinson Batman suddenly showing up in a Justice League movie and have it be a slightly different tone than how we saw Robert Pattinson in either Brave and the Bold or Batman 2 or the Batman 2 or the first movie. So there is strong precedent and a way to explain how this can all work together just based on James Gunn's comments and how Peacemaker 2 bridges that gap between the universes without being a multiverse, by the way. I don't think there's
Yeah,
going
and
to
I
be a
think,
multiverse here.
and I even think Lex is dark enough of a character, even in the Superman. I mean, the whole Russian roulette thing, I was kind of still like, whoa, that was like,
Yeah.
that was a pretty dark scene.
Mhm.
And to where, him and
Oh yeah,
even
yeah.
Penguin could actually be, whether teaming up or it's not, it wouldn't be like jarring if him and if Lex was in Gotham City, put it that way. Like
Yeah.
this Lex, even that we have in the Superman showed up in Gotham City, so that wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. It wouldn't, I don't think that would be that bizarre.
Well, you watch Colin Farrell's performance in both the Batman and the Penguin, and I'll say this: I can see James Gunn saying we have to just capitalize on that. That is a tour de force. Let's let him own that character for many, many years and
Right.
really become the Penguin. I mean, that final scene in the show where he's got the tuxedo, he's even got his top hat, and he's got the umbrellas there, and then everyone his fantasies. Like his mother, they have the cigarette, and I believe they even have a monocle, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're really leaning into it, like run with it. So I can see that now. Part of me doesn't want them to because I wanted that to be a standalone thing, but now at this point, I wanted the second film. I wanted us to be waiting for the third film. That's where we should be in this timeline. But
Right.
we are not. So I don't know. You may be onto something.
Well, and the fact that Pattinson, by the time, if they do the Brave and Bold, and that's not just a red herring to kind of get us off track, but if they do if they do the Batman 2, say that comes out in 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, Brave and the Bold, which would then probably come out another 2 to 3 years after. We're talking about 5 years after that. I mean, Pattinson's going to be 45, 46 years old at that point. He could have a teenage son, Robin, at that point. It wouldn't be like, I remember that used to be the hit on. He's like, Pattinson's way too young to have a teenage kid. It's like, nah, he's not anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be
Yeah,
very
I-
interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's all going to depend on how confident James Gunn and Peter Safran are with the DCU at that point, because I think the concern maybe internally might be not just audiences, but will critics accept the Elseworld concept, these side stories that aren't connected to the broader DC universe? That's I think, an open question. And
Yeah.
I get the sense that that critics in particular may balk at the idea of there being two simultaneous Batman characters, one in universe and another in an Elseworld. So it's going to depend. If the DCU continues to have successful films, screw it, they're going to do the Elseworld stories. But if they really need to prevent that potential confusion because things are kind of hit or miss on these movies, they may end up incorporating those universes and making them into one thing.
Now,
one
real
thing-
quick, final thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Real quick
No,
on
go.
that, Rick, is the only rub I have that feels very weird. That does feel very like, ooh, that's really a stretch. If they keep Barry Keegan's Joker the way he was in that scene, that version of the Joker is hard. It's really hard for me to see that version of the Joker in James Gunn's DCU because that's so twisted and dark. I mean, it's like and there's deformity going on and everything
Yeah.
with that too as well. So I mean, maybe they could clean
Remember,
it up a
James
little
Gunn
bit. Yeah,
Gunn can do twisted and dark. I mean, that's
true. That's true. That's
but
true.
at the same time,
Yeah.
I think with this particular Superman movie, that's not the necessarily direction he was going in, but it's something that he's done many times in the past. So
True.
yeah, so I think he could make it work. And what I like about what he's doing with the DCU, and this maybe even was something that I forecasted before it ever happened, but I like the idea of approaching this like the Star Wars universe, where there's not a timeline of continuity, rather it jumps around in time, like Star Wars. And also
Yeah.
what we've seen from Star Wars is that Andor can coexist in the same universe with Skeleton
Crew, right?
Yeah, there you go. Bingo.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. Yes.
Well,
yes, yeah.
and the Phantom Menace with Rogue One.
right,
I mean-
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Phantom Menace is almost more kiddie than Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew's edgier outside of Maul, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, so let's wrap this up. Just maybe some final thoughts on the film, Freak and Bob, and then a little plug, and let's get out of here. But I think we so Freak, you've seen it once, right?
Yeah.
Bob, you seen it once?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You guys plan on seeing it again in the theater before it runs its course?
I might. Like I said, I wanted to see it immediately after I finished watching it, so I wanted to see it
love that
again right
pose.
away. So I may see it again in theaters. It's just it depends on whether I can squeeze it into my schedule. But yeah, I mean, as far as my just takeaway reaction as we wrap up here, I love that finally some of these movies, and not just restricted to Superman, but we're also seeing it in Fantastic Four a little bit. I love that they're embracing and owning comic characters and not apologizing for them anymore. There's the longest time, let's make these characters look like they exist in the real world. Let's make them the costumes practical, or let's somehow diminish the source material that they're drawn from by trying to do something else or deconstructing them or something like that. I love that they're finally embracing that. The story, everything about this movie embraced a comic book story. And that is something that is a very welcome change in how these movies are done. And it doesn't look like it's driven away general audiences, as it appeals more and more to comic book fans, the fans of diehard fans like us of these characters. It seems like general audiences are embracing red trunks on the out, all that stuff is actually working now. And I think it's because James Gunn and his entire crew and cast really owned every bit of that movie.
I agree. And
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, everything that Bob said, and I would just say I'm just so excited because it feels. I mean, sure, there's going to be the the detractors online and the Snyder heads that are going to like be. And I'm a big Zack Snyder fan too. I
Yeah, me
always
too.
want a precedent with this too. I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan, but but it feels like for the first time, as divisive as some certain people are trying to make this movie, it doesn't feel like it's going to be. I mean, they tried to do that with the Barbie movie too, if you remember. And the Barbie movie was a huge freaking hit. So
Yeah.
I think that this feels like you can just feel that buzz in the air with this movie. It's just it's hitting different than I remember when Man of Steel came out. I loved Man of Steel and it was great, but it felt more niche, in terms of like the type of people that would see it. I didn't see like a 10 or 12-year-old kid embracing this movie, where this movie I think has that potential to just go and just, again, general audience. This feels like a general audience movie that could really really do something special and set. I mean, the mission obviously was to make a great movie, number one, but two, to kick off this universe for years to come.
Mhm.
And I think we'll have to wait till next weekend to say this 100% sure, but I think for James Gunn, mission accomplished on that,
Yeah.
that task. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Where can people find you, sir?
With me, every single night, like 50 hours a day, too, on TikTok. On TikTok, more on there more and more anymore. TikTok.com. And then if you're not a TikTok person, believe it or not, I just started live streaming on YouTube as well. I just started that a couple weeks
Nice.
ago. I'm on YouTube Wednesdays at noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and it's going really, really great. I'm really digging it. It's totally different kind of vibe, different community over there, but it's pretty awesome. So yeah, just anything under Freak Base, that's FREEK, like it is here, BASS. Yep.
Love it. And Bob, where can we find you, sir?
Right. Where's the right there? BobCescashow.com. That's my Patreon. You can listen to the show for free there, or subscribe, support the podcast, or anywhere you get your podcasts, all the different podcast platforms. Just search for the Bob Cesca Show.
I love it. And I'm Rick Shue, and Aaron Varula and I will be rebranding as the Yeehaw and Yankee Show with AA Rod and Ricky Joe very soon. If you want to know why we've had a hiatus on this, it's weird to plug this particular episode, but just go to our feed and there's a show that's about some personal stuff. And if you're having a hard time with some things, maybe tap into that episode and see if it helps. Okay. Otherwise, go see Superman. It's awesome. Rick Shue, over and out. Thanks. Bye. Oops. Let's try that again. Over and out.